How is it going, everyone? And today, this is my final video of 2017. What a year it's been. It's hard to believe that I'm making one of these videos once again because the year is finally over. So, time truly does fly by. And as you guys can probably tell by now, this will be a commentary style video. This is not going to be like my previous year of videos where I pretty much sit in front of the camera and pretty much talk. Pretty much like I'm doing right now, but you can actually see me, but you can't actually see me right now. I feel like John Cena, you can't see me. The reason for it is because, honestly, I'm pretty sick and I just don't feel like being in front of a video or being in front of a camera right now. And to me, being able to record the audio only is a lot easier. So that's why I'm not doing the regular route, which I usually do with the effects and, me, actually recording a video of myself. So I do apologize for not doing that for this one, but you know what, stuff happens, and unfortunately, I'm not up to doing that right now. So hope you guys, excuse me for that. But as the video states, as you guys see the title, and pretty much, if you look in the description, of course, those are the categories which I'll be talking about in this video. This will be my video about the WWE and NXT brand, or the Raw, SmackDown Live, and NXT brand, I should be saying, of 2017, pretty much giving you guys my thoughts on each brand as an individual, and just, the WWE as a whole in general as well, and pretty much the categories I have, I'll be giving what I feel is best fit for those categories. Now, this isn't like an award show or anything. This is just what I feel like fits the criteria for each of these categories. So, without wasting any more time, let's go ahead and close the year out with this video. First off, I want to say in 2017, I thought the WWE and NXT brands were good. Honestly, I didn't think that was that much bad, especially compared to the last few years. I feel like WWE at certain points got really, really bad, especially in the main roster stuff. But I feel like this year wasn't as bad. Sure, there wasn't, must-see television like SmackDown Live has been over the last year. This year it really declined, but you know what? What can you do? But I feel like the overall product and presentation of it was still very well, and it made for some intriguing stuff. You had some great, matches. You had some up-and-coming stars becoming, legitimate stars. So I feel like for the most part, I was pleased with the product. I feel like it could have been better, of course. I think there's always room for improvement, whether it's NXT or the main roster, especially more NXT, I think, because honestly, NXT, even though their takeovers deliver and they do have good NXT episodes every now and then, I feel like as a brand itself, it's definitely kind of falling down a little bit. I feel like it's not really delivering in terms of giving us the stars we deserve to see. I feel like they're really focusing on developing guys to the main roster and not really focusing on replacing them once they send them off, because NXT has these, little gaps where, you really have no one that big on the roster, and then you have to kind of make stars, which they should be doing anyways. They should be making multiple stars, not just, having keen one star at one time. But, I feel like NXT isn't as holy grail as people make it seem to be still. I know some people still act like NXT is this perfect entity, but honestly, it's not. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, like I said, overall I feel like it was a good year. In terms of the best brand, I would have to give it to Raw. I think Raw was a better show out of the three. We'll have the two. I feel like NXT is not. It's really hard to judge NXT considering the way it's formatted and the way they go about. But on Raw and SmackDown Live, I think it's definitely easy to distinguish that Raw was a better brand this year, in my opinion. So that's just my little thoughts on the overall year for both shows. Going into the categories now, which each category I will be giving each. I'll be picking one for each brand, so there will be someone from Raw, SmackDown Live, and NXT receiving something from each of these categories. So that's just how I'm going to go about this video. So the first one, as always, will be Theme Song of the Year. Now, Theme Song of the Year is very, very important because once you hear that music, you know whether you're going to jump off your feet or just sit down and not do anything. And these three themes, in my opinion, were the best ones, and definitely once you heard them, you were excited to see the superstar come out. So the first one from NXT, I'll be giving it to Aleister Black. His theme song is absolutely badass. The moment you hear that, dun, like you just know you're gonna see a badass, and he's such a legitimate badass superstar. And the song, it's a great song overall. Anyways, it's it's not really my cup of tea in terms of like music. I'm not really that much of like a rock guy, but that song, I can listen to that song any day of the week and know that I'm in for a good one. So Aleister Black's Root of All Evil definitely gets theme song of the year from NXT, in my opinion. Then we go to SmackDown Live. This one's pretty easy for me because this theme song, I can sing it all day, honestly. And that's going to be the Usos, Done With That, Down Since Day One-ish remix. The moment you hear the Usos, dun 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 dun. Ooh, down since day one-ish. Like, the moment you hear that, you just want to get up and start dancing. It's a great song, and I'm really happy they remixed it the way it was, because, I mean, it sounded badass when it was just, like, the instrumental, but once they added the lyrics to it, I feel like it definitely brought it to a whole new level, and definitely made the Usos what they are right now. So, Usos get SmackDown Live theme song of the year, in my opinion. And then, of course, go to Monday Night Raw. This superstar, the moment you hear it, I think everyone pops for it, and that's the BRAH! I know he doesn't say Braun in the intro, but it's fun to think it says Braun. But yeah, Braun Strowman's theme song, I Am Stronger, whatever it's called, definitely its theme song of the year. The moment you hear that roar and you just hear the dun 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 dun, like, you know, shit's going down, and you just, you know, Braun Strowman, he's exciting to watch. So Braun Strowman, in my opinion, gets theme song of the year for Monday Night Raw. Going on to Female Superstar of the Year. This one was pretty easy in my opinion for NXT. I got to give it to Asuka. She was dominant the entire year up until she vacated the NXT Women's Championship. So there's really no one that comes close to Asuka as NXT Female Superstar of the Year in my opinion. So even though she's on the main roster now, I feel like she dominated enough to clarify herself as the number one female in NXT this year. So my pick for Female of the Year for NXT, Asuka. Then we go to SmackDown Live, who I'll be giving it to Charlotte Flair. I feel like Charlotte's been, you know, pretty consistent on SmackDown Live, more consistent than she was on Monday Night Raw, if you ask me. I feel like her match has been better. I'm not saying her storyline's been better, but she's overall been the main focus female on SmackDown Live, and I feel like she's the one that delivered the most. Granted, her match with Natalya sucked on Clash of Champions, but I feel like as an overall all-around performer, she's definitely number one. Naomi was definitely a close second, if you ask me, but if I'd give to one of them, I'd go ahead and give to Charlotte Flair. And then for Monday Night Raw, very easy one as well. Alexa Bliss, she dominated the entire women's division on Monday Night Raw since she arrived there. From the moment she arrived, she won the Raw Women's title, like, what, 2-3 weeks into her being on Raw. And she's pretty much been champion the entire time. She only lasted for about a week to Sasha Banks, and she won it back. So Alexa Bliss, very, very dominant, and she by far had the best year out of any woman on Raw, if you ask me. So Alexa Bliss, Raw Female Superstar of the Year. Now this one is pretty interesting. So most improved. Now, most improved doesn't necessarily mean the one that's, you know, improved in-ring wise. It can mean in-ring wise. It could be, you know, as a character on the mic. It can be in any kind of developmental aspect possible to be most improved. And for NXT most improved, I got to give it to this guy because I feel like, you know, where he was a year ago to where he was now, especially considering he's a champion, he's improved so much in terms of his all-around character, and he's had tremendous help with Zelina Vega. So I got to give most improved NXT to Andrade Cien Almas. You know, he's always been great, but I feel like this year he's really stepped up, especially over the last couple months with Zelina Vega. He's NXT champion now. His overall character work has been doing great. His heel work is fantastic. I just got to give it to Andrade Cien Almas. Like I said, I feel like he's the most improved all around. So he definitely gets my pick. For SmackDown Live, you know, this one's a little harder. But, you know, I feel like she's definitely progressed more as a character. I feel like she's gotten better in the ring as well. And I'm going to go ahead and give it to Carmella. I feel like, you know, her as Miss Money in the Bank, you know, I've been waiting for her to cash in and win that championship, hopefully, for a while now. And hopefully she does win it. But I don't know. I feel like as a whole, she's improved the most out of most people. I feel like she's underutilized because, you know, I feel like she has a lot more to show, but they just don't let her do it for whatever reason. So most improved for SmackDown Live, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Carmella. And for Monday Night Raw, this man definitely has improved the most. You know, year and a half ago, he was just terrible, and now he's one of the best on the roster, if you ask me. Braun Strowman, by far the best, most improved on Monday Night Raw. Excuse me. Out of everyone on the roster, he's just, from where he was, like I said, in the White family to where he is now, he's improved tremendously. So Braun Strowman definitely is most improved. Best network special, as well as best DVD and Blu-ray release. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Kurt Angle, the 24 special and Homecoming Kurt Angle, as well as the DVD set, the Essential Collection, that came out in August. I feel like both those things, especially if you watch them like back to back, so like if you watch the network special, then watch his DVD right after that, I feel like you pretty much get the full Kurt Angle experience. So Kurt Angle, his DVD and the network special get best network special and DVD release, in my opinion. Most disappointing match of the year. This one's probably gonna be interesting to some people, especially my NXT choice. So my pick for most disappointing NXT matchup is gonna be Asuka versus Ember Moon from NXT TakeOver Orlando. I feel like going to that match, I had very high expectations for it. I had on this level where I thought it was gonna steal the show, and it was a good match, but it just did not live up to the hype, and I still don't think they lived up to the hype. I know a lot of people love their Brooklyn 3 match. Honestly, I don't think it's as good as people making it seem to be. That's just my opinion. I didn't enjoy it as much as others, but just something about them it wasn't clicking. And the match was good, like I said, but I definitely had higher expectations for it. So, in my opinion, Ember Moon, Asuka, NXT TakeOver Orlando, most disappointing match for NXT this year, in my opinion. Then we go over to SmackDown Live, which I'm gonna go ahead and give it to AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens at Battleground. That just, I was really hoping they'd have a better match than their Backlash match right there, and they under-delivered heavily, and I don't think anyone liked that match. So, their whole feud in general was disappointing, but that match more specifically, in my opinion, was the most disappointing out of the series. So, AJ Styles and Kevin Owens Battleground, most disappointing SmackDown Live match. And then we go to Raw, which to me was Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar from Great Balls of Fire. Again, good match, but it could have been so much better, and they just, I don't know. Brock's whole 5-minute thing, and I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, it's very obvious why it was disappointing. A lot of people were expecting it to be the way it was, but I think people had that hope that it would be something more, but it wasn't. So Brock Lesnar, Samoa Joe, most disappointing Raw match, and then most disappointing overall match, because I feel like this match contributed both brands, and it was such a highly stacked profile match, and then it just was complete and utter shit. Team Raw versus Team SmackDown Live, the 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match. That match was such a stacked match, and they just fucking ruined it. That was such a horrible match, and I don't know. I expected so much more from it, and it could have been easily a match of their candidate, but the shitty booking and the horrible eliminations prevented it from being so much more. So, Team Raw versus Team SmackDown Live, the 5-on-5 men's match Survivor Series, is the overall most disappointing match of the year, if you ask me. This one is going to be interesting, especially the first one I chose. Most overrated superstar. Now, I can already tell people aren't going to disagree with me on my NXT pick, but that's what these are for. These are for debating and to see who agrees with who. My most overrated superstar for NXT goes Ember Moon. Before anyone says anything, hear me out. I feel like Ember Moon has, people perceive her this way, but every time I watch her, and I just don't know if it's personal preference or what, but every time I watch her, I just don't feel satisfied. I don't feel that she's delivering to the level that I want to see her deliver to. I don't know, something about her is just not clicking, and I feel like her in-ring work isn't showing. Now, she's good, don't get me wrong, but I feel like there's this level that people put her on, and I feel like she's not achieving that level. And, her matches with Asuka, like I said, were disappointing in my opinion. I feel like her outings in other matches were good, but they weren't great. I feel like her overall character, like, she's supposed to have a character, but what the fuck is her character? Like, I understand a lot of people don't have characters nowadays. Everyone's trying to be themselves. But with Ember Moon, I feel like she's trying to present herself as a character, but she's not explaining or really giving any indication what her character is. And I just feel like I said, she's undelivered, and I just haven't been completely satisfied with Ember Moon's NXT run, honestly. I don't know. I feel like there's other people who had better year than her, like Nikki Cross or the Iconic Duo. I feel like any of those three should be a better pick to be in her position right now, honestly, and that's just my opinion. But Ember Moon, like I said, I feel pretty disappointed by her, and I'm not saying I don't like her, because I do, but I just don't see the greatness of her that people are claiming that she has. And I don't know, I just feel like people overrate her. And again, I'm not saying she's bad or anything, but I just feel like in terms of aspects, she hasn't delivered for my personal preference. And I just feel like she hasn't, even that NXT special, when they're trying to do the whole feel sorry for her thing, where she was doing like, oh, Orlando was my moment, it was taken away from Asuka. I didn't feel any sympathy for her. I didn't feel for her at all. So I don't know if that explanation really explained things, but in my opinion, Ember Moon is most overrated NXT superstar in my opinion. SmackDown Live, so easy. Jinder Mahal, terrible WWE champion. Hopefully he stays back in the mid-card, because he does not need to be anywhere near the main event. So I don't think Jinder Mahal needs any other explanation to be most overrated. Horrible WWE champion. Worst WWE champion I've honestly ever seen. And I've sat through the reigns of Bray Wyatt, Sheamus, Alberto Del Rio. The list goes on of horrible title reigns that I've seen, and he's definitely the worst WWE champion I've ever seen in my life. So Jinder Mahal, easily most overrated SmackDown Live superstar. And then for Monday Night Raw, I gotta go with Jason Jordan. I was a fan of Jason Jordan, American Alpha. I've always liked him, but this whole thing with Kurt Angle's son is just not working. He's had good matches, but like he's just, every time he's on my screen, I just want him to get the fuck off my screen. And I feel like WWE shoved him down our throats so much that I have to give him most overrated on Monday Night Raw. Especially now considering that he's tag champs with Seth Rollins. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't know. I'm not really enjoying anything that they're doing with him, but the fact that they shut him down our throats so many times and they just won't quit with him, I definitely have to give him most overrated for Monday Night Raw. From there, I'm going to go to most underrated, which is, something, this is pretty fun because I feel like people always have different opinions on this one. For NXT, very, very simple. Oney Lorcan. He's presented on TV, pretty often. Not, all the time, but he's on there pretty often, especially considering his new tag team with Danny Burch. But I feel like he has so much to deliver. Like, the live house show that I watched with him and Lars Sullivan, in August, that was such an awesome match. And Oni Lorcan has so much to deliver and so much to show for, but he just doesn't get that opportunity to do it. And like I said, granted, he's kind of a regular, but I feel like he's just never gotten that push that he deserves. So, in my opinion, Oni Lorcan definitely is NXT's most underrated. SmackDown Live, I got to give it to Luke Harper. I know he's featured now. He's part of, the Bludgeon Brothers, which I'm a huge fan of. But where was he pretty much for the entire year? He started off hot in the year. He was in the program with Randy Orton. That match at Elimination Chamber was awesome. He was almost in the WWE title match at WrestleMania, which I thought he was going to be in the title match. To me, it made the most sense to have Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, Luke Harper in a triple threat. But they didn't do it, and he went absolutely nowhere after WrestleMania, and he was gone for months. You didn't see him on TV for like fucking 5 or 6 months straight. And, now he's emerged in the Bludgeon Brothers, which I'm happy he's being used, but Luke Harper, as a singles guy, has money to run all over it, in my opinion. So, just very disappointed that they don't utilize them more than they should. So, Luke Harper definitely gets most underrated, if you ask me. And then on Monday Night Raw, I had to give it to Anderson and Gallows. I feel like as a tag team, they're underappreciated. I'm not saying they're the most talented guys in the locker room, but they do have something to offer. And, ever since after WrestleMania, they've done absolutely nothing with them. I don't think they've even been on a pay-per-view since after WrestleMania, honestly. They've used them for these skits. They use them for these comedy matches. They just have done nothing with Anderson and Gallows this year. And I feel pretty disappointed because I feel like those two definitely have a high caliber what they can do, especially with the Balor Club with Finn Balor. I feel like them as a trio, definitely versus the Shield, that's money right there. But, I don't know. I feel like Anderson and Gallows, like I said, you watch Raw for yourself and you'll know that those guys are definitely underappreciated. So I give those two most underrated of the year for Monday Night Raw. From there, I go to Feud of the Year. Now, this one, this is interesting because to me, there wasn't really that many feuds that I gotta say were that great that I was invested in, but these ones definitely stood out the most in my opinion. For NXT, NXT, this is where it kind of gets hard to choose from NXT because there's not really that many feuds or that many, just rivalries in general in NXT that, perish the way some do on Raw and SmackDown because, NXT isn't a thing where they're featured weekly. They pretty much alternate talent on NXT TV. So you don't get the continuation of feuds all the time. But this one feud, it went on for like a month or two, but it was great. And that was Bobby Roode versus Roderick Strong. That match and that feud alone was great. I was intrigued. I love the storyline with Bobby Roode pretty much telling Roderick Strong that he hit the lottery with the hot wife and the kid, but he's not winning the NXT Championship. To Bobby Roode, interrupting his family or disturbing his family and them brawling backstage to the point where it went past the NXT Championship. Even though Roderick Strong won the championship, once Bobby Roode lost the championship, Roderick Strong didn't care anymore. Roderick Strong still wanted Bobby Roode because of the disrespect that he did to his family. So just the way the whole feud was structured, and it was a short feud. It definitely should have went on a takeover, so that's why I don't think a lot of people really think about it or know about it because it wasn't featured on an NXT takeover special. But Bobby Roode and Roderick Strong definitely had a great feud. It's underappreciated and definitely underrated in my opinion. But yeah, those two went out there and had a great feud. It had a lot of great segments, promos, and their matches were great as well. So Bobby Roode, Roderick Strong, definitely good feud of the year in my opinion. SmackDown Live now. I was originally gonna give this to Cena and Nikki versus Miz and Maurice, but honestly, a feud that happened that their matches were so good, I could not give it an SmackDown Live feud of the year, and that's the Usos versus the New Day. The thing about this feud is it's different because it wasn't about it wasn't personal. It wasn't like there's literally no tension really between them. It was just about being the best tag team on SmackDown Live, and that's what this feud was. They went out there, they tore the house down every single show they were on, whether it was a pay-per-view, pre-show, or SmackDown Live. They went out there and had this tremendous tag team match that finally ended inside Hell in a Cell. They went pretty much like 4 or 5 months just trying to outdo each other. It was a competitive feud, and those are something that we don't get very often. We don't get those feuds where it's all about proving who's better. We get these feuds that are personal and someone that's vendetta against each other, but this one was purely about being the best tag team on SmackDown Live, which I absolutely love. So Usos and the New Day get the feud of the year for SmackDown Live. And for Monday Night Raw, this was a no-brainer in my opinion. Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman. Those two had the most intriguing feud of the year overall in my opinion. These two started at the beginning of the year and went all the way pretty much till SummerSlam when they finally were in that Fatal 4-Way together and the match ended the way it did. Or Roman Reigns ended up getting pinned by Brock Lesnar, but pretty much their feud went to that SummerSlam 4-way. I believe they had like a steel cage match before that SummerSlam show too as well. But you know, everything they did, like it was legit a blood feud. You legitimately thought they wanted to kill each other, whether it was Braun Strowman throwing Reigns against the ambulance or Reigns crashing into the ambulance and Braun Strowman is bloodied up as can be. These two wanted to kill each other, and you felt the tension, you felt the hatred for these two against each other, and it felt real and it felt great, and it was definitely the best feud in WWE in my opinion. So definitely Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns, Raw feud of the year. All right, from there we go to face of the year, which to be honest, I think face is something that they were very, very lacking this year in terms of building up, because you look at the main event faces and how they're portrayed. There weren't many really any good ones, to be perfectly honest, but these three definitely stood out to me. For NXT, definitely Roderick Strong. I feel like just the promos he was cutting and just the way he was presented, he was definitely the top face in my opinion. I know Drew McIntyre came in and kind of went in that position, but I feel like overall year round, Roddy was definitely holding that boat down. And you know, it upsets me that they never capitalized on Roddy. After the Bobby Roode feud, because they kind of didn't really do much with Roddy. I know he went to that, you know, he went into the War Games match and everything, but Roddy definitely should be a main player, and they definitely should have capitalized on his momentum after that feud. So I'm pretty disappointed they didn't do that. But Roderick Strong is NXT Face of the Year. For SmackDown Live, AJ Styles. I don't think there's anyone else really that could qualify for Face of the Year on SmackDown Live besides AJ Styles, honestly. Just, you know, who wouldn't vote AJ Styles? So AJ Styles Face of the Year for SmackDown Live. And for Monday Night Raw, this was a little difficult, but I'm going to give it to Dean Ambrose. Just because I don't want to give it to Seth Rollins, because I feel like there's a lot of cringy stuff Rollins did. Not saying there wasn't anything cringy Ambrose did, but I don't know. I just feel like Ambrose was presented better year-round than Seth Rollins. So, I don't know. Like I said, the face of the year was difficult because they didn't really present any of the faces that well this year. But I'm just going to, you know, I'll just give it to Dean Ambrose, honestly. From there, we go to mark out moment of the year. Of course, this is a moment where you lose your shit on. And this is always a fun, easy one to pick, in my opinion. Of course, for NXT, it was the debut of Adam Cole, baby. Because, you know, honestly, what other mark out moments in NXT were there besides that one? Because I just remember losing my shit reading that he debuted and watching it. Goosebumps, the crowd losing their shit. Not even questioning it. Definitely Adam Cole gets mark out moment for NXT of the year. SmackDown Live, Shinsuke Nakamura's debut at after WrestleMania. I still picture myself in that moment watching Nakamura coming out, just being speechless and just digesting what I was witnessing, because I want to see that moment so bad, and actually it comes to tuition in front of my eyes. Being there in person was just tremendous, and you know, I can just visualize myself right now in my seat watching Nakamura come down that ramp and doing the pose on the ropes. It was just one of those moments where I just want to sit there and just take it all in, and it was an amazing moment. So Nakamura debuts on SmackDown Live, definitely gets my SmackDown Live mark moment of the year. And of course, for Monday Night Raw, got to give it to the Hardy Boys returning WrestleMania 33. That was a tremendous moment. One of the greatest moments I've ever witnessed live. That was just so much fun to watch. And, you know, granted, they didn't really do much with the Hardys after that. Granted, they were tag team champions, but they didn't really do anything. But still, that moment was something that I'll never forget being there live for as well. So, Hardy Boys return on WrestleMania, definitely gets a mark out moment of the year. From there, we go to Tag Team of the Year, which for NXT, you know, this is kind of hard to give because honestly, the tag team division NXT isn't that superior or that strong at the moment. They really don't have that many tag teams, at least on TV. But, you know, there's consistently one team on top, and that was Authors of Pain, so I got to give the Authors of Pain. You know, Sanity definitely is a close second in my opinion, but definitely when you want to talk about, you know, the team that they protected and try to portray the best as, definitely Authors of Pain. They had really good matches, whether it's with DIY, Sanity, Heavy Machinery, whoever is against Authors of Pain, always had, you know, a good to great match. So definitely, like I said, the best portrayed tag team in NXT this year. SmackDown Live, another easy one, the Usos. Those guys were on top of the world the entire year almost. They were tag team champions for most of the year as well. You know, they defeated American Alpha before WrestleMania, and pretty much, you know, they're still tag team champions to this day. So Usos, you know, definitely were the best tag team year round for SmackDown Live. And of course, Monday Night Raw, you gotta get to the bar. Those two have just gelled so tremendously well as a tag team. You know, putting on great matches with the Hardys, Anderson and Gallows. You know, Rollins and Ambrose, they just put on so many great clinic matches this year that it's hard to not give the tag team of the year to the bar for Monday Night Raw. So those are my picks for tag team of the year. From there, I'm going to go to best on the mic, which To me, it's pretty easy for NXT. Of course, being on the microphone isn't what they're known. The talent NXT is known for, but this guy cut the best promos. He was in NXT for 8 months out of the year, so I qualify him for this category, and that being Bobby Roode. I feel like he delivered the best promos in NXT, whether it was him cutting promo with Roderick Strong or him at his quote unquote house, showing off and just being a great egotistical heel. I feel like on the mic, Bobby Roode delivered the best out of anyone in NXT during his tenure, so definitely got to get to him. On SmackDown Live, this tag team definitely has cut the most fire promos out of anyone this year, and that being the Usos. Those guys have just developed so much, and their promos this year have just been tremendous, and I loved every second of it, especially, the rap battle, which well, I remember going into that, I was thinking it was the stupidest thing ever, but once I watched it, I absolutely loved every second of it. So that was the Usos. I don't think anyone touched them on the mic this year, honestly, on SmackDown Live. So got to give it to the Usos. And for Monday Night Raw, I got to give it to The Miz. I feel like The Miz got the best promos out of anyone on the roster on Raw. I feel like he consistently went out there, whether it's about the Intercontinental Championship or about the Shield. The Miz went out there and delivered like he always does. So definitely best on the mic for Monday Night Raw. For me, goes to The Miz. Alrighty, then we go to Heel of the Year, which is a little bit more difficult than Face of the Year, obviously, because they are definitely better at portraying the heels and the faces. But for NXT, besides the Undisputed Era, who just came in, who really has been the most dominant heel in NXT? And even though he's not on the brand anymore, I got to give it to Bobby Roode again. I feel like, again, like I said, in terms when I was talking about best on the mic, I feel like his overall presentation, his just his in-ring skills, the way he wrestles. I know a lot of people don't like the way he wrestles, but to me, it reminds me of an old school wrestler. So definitely, I'm a fan of it. I just feel like just everything Bobby Roode was portrayed as in NXT. He definitely is the most well-groomed heel on the show. So best heel in NXT, got to go to Bobby Roode in my opinion. For SmackDown Live, I'm going to go ahead and get to Kevin Owens. His whole storyline with Shane McMahon, in my opinion, pretty much won him that category. Whether he was headbutting and frog splashing Vince or, pretty much fighting with Shane. I feel like just overall, during the year, Kevin Owens definitely garnered the most heat and done the most vicious and, crazy things we've seen. So, Kevin Owens, heel of the year. And, of course, for Monday Night Raw, I'm going to go ahead and give to Samoa Joe, just because they legitimately made Samoa Joe seem like a legitimate badass, whether it's him running backstage trying to fight Brock Lesnar, him choking out Roman Reigns, just his presentation, the way they presented him was by far the best looking, heel that's not the champion, as of right now. I just feel like, they presented him the most badass way, and I feel like he's the most badass heel they've made look this year. So, heel of the year on Monday Night Raw, Samoa Joe. Then we go to Show of the Year, which to me, this was very, very simple. NXT, there was two shows that stood out the most, which was NXT TakeOver Chicago and NXT TakeOver War Games. But out of the two, I got to go with NXT TakeOver War Games. That show was just absolutely insane. You had a really good opener. You had an incredible match with Aleister Black and the Velveteen Dream. A very good Fatal 4-Way match. And a really good, actually a great NXT title match. And a fantastic main event War Games. I feel like that card delivered plus more, and I just had the most fun watching that show out of the two. So NXT TakeOver War Games definitely gets my show of the year. For SmackDown Live, their pay-per-views definitely digressed this year. They weren't really that good, so this was pretty simple. Elimination Chamber, I feel like that was their best pay-per-view. They had 3 solid women's matches in that card. They had a great main event Elimination Chamber match. Randy Orton and Luke Harper had a fantastic match as well. Tag Team Turmoil match was good. But, yeah, out of every SmackDown Live pay-per-view, definitely Elimination Chamber, in my opinion, was the best overall show. And then for Monday Night Raw, I gotta give it to No Mercy. I feel like that card was the most fun in terms of, Raw pay-per-views. Even though I will say almost every Raw pay-per-view were pretty much on the same level. I feel like each one kind of delivered almost at the same level, but I feel like this one was just, I had more fun watching this one. I know the main event matches kind of didn't deliver as much as people were hoping, but I feel like the undercard was really, really good. Miz and Jason Jordan had a really good opening match. The tag team title match was insane. Probably the best women's match on pay-per-view this year was at No Mercy. I just feel like that overall show as a whole definitely delivered the most. So No Mercy gets Raw pay-per-view of the year. And then, of course, overall pay-per-view of the year, I got to give it to the Royal Rumble. I feel like that show was tremendous. I don't think people give the amount of credit that it deserves. I feel like to the opening match, the main event, I thought it was a great show. You know, AJ Styles and John Cena had a tremendous match. Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns had an amazing match as well. People really underrate that match if you ask me. Bayley and Charlotte was a good opener. Just an overall fucking fantastic show in my opinion. The Rumble match is really fun as well. Even though there wasn't any surprises or anything like that, and the ending of course pissed people off, I feel like it was still a really fun Rumble overall. So the Royal Rumble definitely gets overall pay-per-view of the year. From there, I'm going to go to promo of the year, which to me, again, was pretty easy for NXT. I got to give it to the Bobby Roode lottery promo, which, you know, originally started off as Roderick Strong's promo. Pretty much Roddy, you know, saying that it's him, his wife, and his kid versus the world now. Bobby Roode comes out, and that's where he explains that Roddy hit the lottery, but he's going to lose the Bobby Roode lottery, which is the NXT Championship. So that promo, I believe, was on the first June episode of NXT. I think it was when Bobby Roode came back after NXT TakeOver Chicago. That definitely was the best promo on NXT. So by far that one. SmackDown Live, got to give it to Cena and Nikki, Barry, Miz, and Maurice. I saw the emotion in that promo, and of course, you know, Cena doing the whole "what are you doing, shooting blanks down there" sport thing. Honestly, you could pick probably any of their segments and say it's the best promo of the year, but I gotta say, Cena, Nikki, Barry, Miz, and Maurice on SmackDown Live before WrestleMania is definitely promo of the year. And then for Monday Night Raw, you gotta give it to John Cena, Barry, and Roman Reigns. Pretty much tell him that, you know, I'm like a drug test. You ain't getting past me, Holmes. That promo, that one was the best one. I feel like out of the, well, was it they had 2 or 3 promos, because there was a week where Cena wasn't there, where Reigns cut a good promo. But out of all the promos, there was, I think the second or third one, I don't remember which one it was the best one. I think it was the second one, because I think the third one Reigns was by himself. So the second promo between the two of them definitely was the best one, with Cena using that drug testing line. So that gets promo of the year. Love every second of it. And then we go to match of the year. Now this one, it's pretty easy. So for NXT, I had to go with 2 of them because I feel like one of them is an obvious choice, but since the 2 aren't really NXT regulars, it's kind of, I don't know, to me it's kind of like, I don't feel right choosing that one for 2 guys that aren't regulars. So I gave this 2 for 1 non-regulars and the second one 2 regulars in NXT. So the first one is obviously Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne for the UK Championship at NXT TakeOver Chicago. That match is just amazing. You can just go back and just watch it and just know how amazing that match was. I can watch that match all day and never get tired of it. Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate tore the house down. Match of the year by far. But for the regulars, I got to give it to War Games. I feel like the War Games match was so much fun. Tremendous storytelling, just them beating the shit out of each other. I'm always a fan of people beating the shit out of each other. So to watch that match, to me, was great. So definitely got to say War Games was the regulars, I guess you can call it, match of the year, and the irregulars, which I know they're on NXT every now and then, but they're not, you know, full-time members of the roster, which is why I didn't want to give to Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, but those 2 definitely were the non-regulars, I guess you can say, NXT match of the year. SmackDown Live, very, very simple. John Cena versus AJ Styles from Royal Rumble. And that is my overall match of the year as well, just to add that. But those 2 went out there and topped their SummerSlam match. I didn't know how they could do it, but they absolutely went out there and did it. Had a tremendous match, and John Cena won his 16th World Championship at the end of it. What more can you ask for? Tremendous match, definitely SmackDown Live match of the year. And of course, Monday Night Raw. It came out in 2 matches, but this match was just a tad bit better than the Royal Rumble match, if you ask me, which was the Fatal 4 match for the Universal Championship. Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, and Braun Strowman. That match is just insane. Just 4 powerhouses going out there and killing each other. Just the booking of Strowman destroying Lesnar, to me, was great, and I loved every second of it. So the Fatal 4-Way for SummerSlam gets a Raw match of the year. Now we're cutting down to the last 2. Superstar of the year. NXT. Again, this gets hard because you don't have guys consistently there, so it's harder to really have the mainstay and really have a clear pick for it. But NXT Superstar of the Year, I got to give it to Bobby Roode. I feel like he was the most dominant year-round, and he just, you know, he was the most well-perceived, in my opinion. So I'll give Superstar of the Year Bobby Roode. For SmackDown Live, this was a little bit harder because their main guy they're focusing on was terrible, aka Jinder Mahal. So I'm not going to give it to Jinder Mahal. But this guy, you know, whether he had disappointing matches with Kevin Owens or not, I feel like he was still the most consistent wrestler, whether his matches with, you know, Jinder or Orton, Luke Harper, Chad Gable. He was always out there and consistently the best wrestler, and that being AJ Styles. He had the best matches, in my opinion, and I'm very, very happy that they rewarded him with the WWE Championship because that man definitely deserves it, and I can't wait to see what 2018 has to offer AJ Styles. So, SmackDown Live Superstar of the Year, AJ Styles. And then a Raw Superstar of the Year. This man was dominant the entire year from the very start to now still. He's still, pretty much the most dominant guy in the roster. And that's Braun Strowman. To me, 2017 was Braun Strowman's year. He was probably the overall Superstar of the Year, honestly. I feel like Braun Strowman had a better outing than everyone else on the roster. Even though he was never a champion, I feel like he was still perceived as a main guy. And he just had a great year, and I was very excited to see what Braun Strowman had to offer this year, and he definitely made me a huge fan of his. For someone that absolutely hated Braun Strowman 2 years ago, I love the guy now. So very, very happy for Braun Strowman. I'm very excited to see what 2018 brings him. Hopefully a future Universal Champion in 2018. So Braun Strowman, Raw Superstar of the Year. And then the final category, Superstar to look out for in 2018. This is pretty much my prediction about who's going to have the best showing, or at least a decent showing, or at least a good showing to stand out, I guess. I don't even know what I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But my superstars to look out for in 2018, NXT, I'm going to say Lars Sullivan. They're already starting with him, but I feel like, he has huge potential. He's not amazing, but, the dude's good, and I enjoy seeing him, and I like the way they presented him. So, if they keep this right up with Lars Sullivan, I can see him as an NXT champion or on the main roster sometime next year. So, Lars Sullivan is my NXT superstar to look out for in 2018. For SmackDown Live, this man's in a tag team right now, so whether he's a tag team champion or maybe they split and he goes single, I don't know. But I feel like this man is going to be a champion again, whether it's tag team or singles. He just, his short stint as a singles guy in the summer, to me, proved that he should have been a champion by now. But I gotta get to Chad Gable. I feel like Chad Gable has so much to offer, and I feel like in 2018, he was starting the show at this year with, in American Alpha, but then American Alpha fell apart, and then he had, he had his short stint as a singles guy for a little bit before getting paired back up with Shelton Benjamin. But I feel like he has a lot to offer, and I feel like in 2018 he's definitely gonna show more and definitely give more reason to give him more of a push. So I think Chad Gable is definitely someone to look out for in 2018. And for Monday Night Raw, the guy to look out for in 2018. Give him the championships now because he's absolutely awesome. Elias. This guy went from doing absolutely nothing in NXT and not really being much of it anybody to being one of the most entertaining guys in the main roster right now. I love watching Elias. He's the most entertaining guy in my opinion. I feel like his in-ring work is pretty solid to the point where he can be a champion and hold his own. I feel like the future's bright for Elias, and I'm very excited to see where 2018 goes. Hopefully he's a champion next year because he definitely deserves it in my opinion. But yeah, that'll do it for this video, guys. How long have I been going now? I've been paying attention. So I am nearly 40 minutes into this video. Hopefully you guys have sat through this all. If you guys have, you are absolutely awesome. I apologize. I feel like I've rushed through some of the categories. When you're recording this long, you kind of just want to get it over with, honestly, at some point. So some of them I was kind of straight to the point and try to make it as short as possible. So I do apologize if some of my points just seem very short and just to it. But yeah, like I said, overall, I thought 2017 was a good year. It could have been better. But I feel like compared to most of the years, I feel like, during their quote-unquote down periods, I feel like it was still pretty solid. I feel like Raw has been consistently good almost the entire year. So we got to give Raw their props, and SmackDown Live definitely has declined. But they're picking up a steam again. The last 2 weeks, I feel like SmackDown Live is picking up steam and being good again. And, NXT is a good brand. It could be a lot better. But it's still a good show. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, please leave a like below. If you guys would like in the comment section, take my categories and give your guys your own I guess winners, or I guess whoever fits the criteria. Just go ahead and feel free to leave your opinions on each category. So if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, that's why I like making these type of videos, because it gives the opportunity to interact and see others' opinions. So yeah, feel free to do it, and that'll do it for this video, and that'll do it for me in 2017. Very, very excited to see what 2018 has to offer me, and I hope you guys are excited for it too as well. So until next year, I'll see you guys then. Thank you guys for watching the video.